So in this video, I want to talk about my new Yamaha RX-A2A receiver. It's a 7-channel receiver. 7-channel receivers are pretty much the the norm. I would say that it's a very usable number of channels for most people. Whoever tells you that you need an 11-channel setup to have a decent Atmos setup is not doing you any favors. Most people can get by just fine with a 7-channel setup, and that's one of the things I want to prove in this video. Because in my current room, which sitting in right now, this is my dedicated home theater room. I have an 11-channel setup. I have a separate processor, 2 separate Emotiva amplifiers, and like I mentioned, an Anthem processor that can process up to 15 channels. I'm only using 11 channels of that processing right now, but it is a very, 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 very good solution that I have installed in this current room. I'm going to use this receiver to show that you can get by just fine if you have a good room with good acoustics with just a 7-channel amp. So this amp packs 100 watts per channel, so it's very adequate amount of power. It does use YPAO auto correction. A lot of people complain that it's not the best. This will be my first experience using this Yamaha room correction, the YPAO solution, and I've just never used it. In fact, I've never had. This is my first Yamaha AV receiver ever in my, so I'm actually kind of excited to check it out for the first time. So one of the big reasons why I bought this receiver, is the fact that it has a trigger out. This receiver is going to be will be in the new house. It's going to be in the, this will be the family room receiver. Again, this is going to be in a rack in the basement, and we're going to have long cable. We have speaker cables running from the basement all the way to the family room in another floor away. I mean, that includes subwoofer cabling, that includes speaker cables, and HDMI cables. So all this stuff is going to be running from the basement all the way up to the theater, to the family room. And I bought it because this was the cheapest receiver that I could find that had a trigger out. I paid about $550 for this receiver, and basically that's why I chose it. And I guess I was also curious to see, check out Yamaha. I've heard very good things about Yamaha as far as, they have really stout amplification for the money, and I think Audioholics have bench tested. I don't have that kind of equipment, so I can't do that, but I trust their knowledge on their testing, and in fact I would consider them the gold standard YouTube channel for this kind of stuff. I'm going to go ahead and set this up in this room, and I'm going to kind of give you my full opinion on how well it does in a room that has acoustic paneling. But anyway, let's set it up and see how it does. So today's another receiver day. I got this new Yamaha AV receiver. It's the RX-A2A. This is probably like a mid-range receiver. It's got pretty good features for being a 7-channel one, but let's get it out of the box and check it out. So I've been doing, recently I've been doing most of my unboxings in this room because my rec room area is kind of messy due to the move. If you didn't know this, I'm moving to a new home. And with the new home comes a new home theater build. I'll put some links to that if you want in the description, if you want to check out the progress being made on the new home theater. But for now, let's check out this receiver. And I've never had a Yamaha, and I've always been intrigued. Heard really good things about their this is I guess this is like an entry-level Avantage line. I guess we got documentation here. Let's see what's in the bag. Power cable. Calibration mic in here. Big chunky remote. Let's check this out. Oh, that's a nice remote. That's got to be one of the nicer remotes that I've gotten in any receiver recently. The antennas you have to screw them on, it looks like. And I got antennas here, FM and AM antennas. And obviously some documentation, warranty information, that kind of stuff. But let's get it out of so let me pull this guy out. So this is sort of like an entry-level Avantage. It has sort of the newer design language with the volume knob in the front. But let me get this out of the, plastic and, show you a little better. So this is, again, the RX-A2A. This is more of an entry-level unit. To be honest, this is a refurbished unit. I typically buy refurbished when I can. This particular receiver had the features that I was looking for my family room specifically. And it has, but again, let's look at the front panel here. Got the volume knob, pretty good resistance to it, very big size. So it's a very prominent volume knob. Looks like maybe you can select the input with this little knob here. Less resistance here, a little cheaper feeling, but still okay. And very simple. I mean, this is just, I guess this acts as like a selector and a button too, so you can hit that button. Again, I haven't really played with this at all because just opened it up, and I don't, this is my first experience with a Yamaha in quite a long time. In fact, my first AV receiver, Yamaha. You know, I've always been curious about the brand. So you got the power button, USB. I guess this is for the YPAO mic. First experience with YPAO too. Kind of excited to check that out for the first time. And I got the obviously headphone jack. That's pretty self-explanatory. But let's turn it around where you can see the more interesting stuff. I forgot to say that they do a lot of, you know, it's pretty open here. Good amount of ventilation, a little plasticky feeling. I'm not gonna lie. This is straight up plastic, but the sides are made of metal, I can tell, and this says Avantage on the top here. So this is an Avantage, probably like the intro level into the Avantage line. So rear panel, let's start with power. This is where you insert your power cable, your antennas for like Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, AM, FM antenna, that's where you plug that in. You got your Ethernet jack. You have 7 HDMI inputs, I believe 4. I believe these 3 are used for 8K. There's only 1 HDMI out. That's probably a downside for this receiver. The Onkyo I just reviewed had 2 just recently, and it was actually cheaper in this unit. In all honesty, I have never used more than 1, really. I mean, there are edge case scenarios where I've used 2 to do some specialty, like, you know, to actually test something, but I typically only use 1 out. If you're in, I personally don't use a lot of the Zone 2 stuff, but because there are a lot of limitations, I prefer having a second, just getting a cheap receiver as opposed to sending an HDMI cable to another room. I think it's always an easier thing to just get another receiver. But again, I think 1 out is okay. Maybe it may not be good for some people, but that's not one of the features that I was looking for. The feature that I was most excited about, that I needed, this is why I bought this receiver. This is like a $550 receiver. Well, that's what I paid. It's about $1,000 typically, was that it had a trigger out. It was one of the cheapest receivers that I could find with a trigger out, which is what I need because I'm putting in-wall subwoofers, which has external amplification. So I got to use an amp. So I wanted to use a trigger out to turn on the amplifier for the subwoofer. So this had that. That's why I bought this particular receiver. And I only needed 7 channels for that room. So you got front, center, surround, and surround back, or you can do bi-amp or Zone 2 with this. And you can also do, I guess they call this front present. This is like the height, or you can do Zone 2 as well. So you can assign it to height or Zone 2, or you can do surround back or Zone 2. You have phono inputs, which is great. You have some legacy like RCA analog inputs, 1 digital coaxial in and 1 digital optical in as well, 2 subwoofer pre-outs, and you actually have pre-outs for your fronts. If you actually want to get an external amplifier for at least your fronts, you can run it. You can run some pre-outs to your fronts, which is, I think it's a huge plus for this particular receiver. Then you don't have to put so much load onto your receiver, onto your receiver, and you know, if you want to use get yourself an Emotiva amp or something to power it, or even a Yamaha amp. And you got Zone 2 pre-outs as well. So it's a pretty bare bones back. I mean, as you can see, a lot of the real estate is just taken up by a few connectors on this side, but certainly got me the feature. Like I said, I needed that trigger out the most, but I got that here and I'm pretty excited. So I can't wait to set this up and check it out for the first time. All right, let's put this guy in. So I apologize with the cables. I just, you know, removing, and I'm never done the best with cable management. I'm gonna be honest, but I'm gonna start with the speakers. Front left. So I got everything on banana plugs. So I got front left here. So red with red. And then this is front right. You know, black with black. Red with red, pretty simple. Let's find the center channel. I know, because it's this little blue, this blue one here. I typically start with speakers first and then move up because it's easier to just see everything. I usually start from the go and make my way up. And we got some side surrounds. So we got surrounds here. You can't see it too well, but ouch. And this is right. Sorry, you can't see that, but there, maybe you can. There you go. There's the surround there. And I need one more surround. Now heights. So I haven't connected this yet. So we got surround back here, or zone 2, and this says front presence, which I assume it's height. So I'm gonna take a guess and go with this one. I'll just switch it out if it's wrong. I'll start with the left speakers first. All right, so I got the speakers connected. Let's do HDMI, and then I'm not gonna do FM antennas and stuff. I'm gonna keep it simple because I'm gonna be moving this out really quick. So I got 7 HDMI inputs, I believe. I'm gonna guess that these 3 can do a 8K. So I'm gonna put my Xbox in game. I think this is my Apple TV. So I'm gonna just put it on number 4 because it doesn't matter. After they become just numbered from 4 to 7. Put my Saidu in here, right there, and I'm gonna do my HDMI out. This is actually the cable that's going to the projector itself. I'm gonna put it, I wish I could give you a better view. This is just not, this is as good as I can do, so, okay. Okay, let's do Ethernet real quick. So I got subwoofer 1 and 2. I don't think it matters with this receiver. I don't think this particular YPAO does will set the levels independently for the subwoofer, so I don't think it matters where they go. I can always move it if necessary, but I really don't think that's one of the features. And I always recommend Ethernet. If you can do it, do it. It's always better. Got a better connection, even though, you know, not a lot of data is going to be flowing through this thing. In fact, it's probably not even gigabit. All right, so let's plug this guy in and we'll be done. So this is the microphone that it comes with. I'm going to put it on my mic jack, and then I'll just place it in my listening position, and we can set up the setup process. I'm just going to put the batteries into the remote here. Some thoughts on the remote. I think it's amazing. I love this remote. It's the best. It's better than any Onkyo, any Pioneer that I've recently reviewed. You know, dare I say it's even better than my Anthem remote. At least, you know, it's got a little color to it. You know, it's a little clicky. Other than that, it's okay. I guess it's a little hard to, I guess my only complaint was I wish there was a little more button to it, but it's because it's a bit flat. It's like very membraney. It's hard to explain. But anyway, I do like the size of it. It looks like a good remote. So I got it installed here, and I gotta say it looks pretty good. I do like the screen here. It's probably you know, it's a higher resolution than most receiver little screens, other than my Anthem, which is actually a color screen, but it's not bad it's again, this is like this is a $1,000 roll, and 1,000 MSRP. I didn't pay that much. I paid $550 for it, but still pretty good. So I got the microphone set up over there at about head height in my main listening position, and I'm gonna plug in the microphone here into the mic jack, YPAO it says here, and let's see and we got something on the screen. All right, so I'm gonna hit start measurement, and this all looks okay. I've never dealt with Yamaha, so I'm kind of doing it for the first time, so I'm just winging it. You can actually select multiple or single, and I'm gonna just do single because this is just for me, very temporary. I'm gonna set it up somewhere else eventually. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit single and hit start measurement. So it looks like it finished the measurement here, and I have no idea what that stuff means. So I'm going to hit just OK and see what else happens, but that was really quick, and I can disconnect now. So it's really quick. Let's see how the numbers look. So I'm going over some of the numbers, and the YPAO crossed over, you know, just set everything to large. Personally, I wouldn't have done that, but again, I'm going to see how it sounds as is, the way that it configures it, and then I'll make my tweaks. You know, I would say that it set the distances pretty much spot on. They're about 12 feet away. I probably wouldn't even tweak this. In contrast to the Onkyo 6050 that I just reviewed, you know, the YPAO did a much better job setting the distances. Again, this looks fine. I'm probably not even going to tweak it. So it looks like it sent the front right speaker much louder than 2 dB louder than the front left. You know, whatever, I don't know. I did boost the center channel a decent amount there. The subwoofer might actually be set to the minimum. Yeah, it doesn't go any lower. So according to the YPAO, the subs are set a little too hot, but I like them hot like that. So I'm just gonna listen to the way it set it up without me having to tweak anything first, and then I'll tweak things. So it was set to, as far as speaker impedance, it was set to 8 minimum. I'm gonna set it to 6 minimum, because you never know. I think so. Maybe this receiver probably doesn't handle 4 ohm loads, but I'll set it as low as I can at 6 ohms because this is 6 ohm minimum, not 6 ohm maximum. You know, so you can go down as low as 6. You could probably handle a little more than that if you're not pushing it too hard. I just have like a Halo Infinite campaign going here. So, but I'm going to show you the setup menu for the Yamaha RX-A2A. So I'm going to hit the setup button. It's this button right up here, setup, and let's start with speaker and power and amplification. So one of the things, so I guess something to note, I'm sort of used to like menus that take up the whole screen. This is about 2/3 of the screen, or 1/3 I should say. So it takes some getting used to, but it is what it is. This is how it works. You can do power amp design. You can do basic or 7.11 zone. I currently have it set to basic. And let's go back. In configuration, you can do subwoofer, front speakers have been set to large, small, for center and surround, I have no surround back here. Front presence, have it set to small, and then for the front present, you can set it to overhead, Dolby enabled, front height, or overhead. So not the most amount of options. If you go into the crossover here, you set the crossover for all the speakers you selected that were small. As you can see, I have them all set to 80 Hertz, which is pretty standard. And subwoofer phase, you can adjust that here. You can go to reverse or normal, which is cool. So if your subwoofer doesn't have a phase function, you can actually set it from here, which is good. Extra bass is like double bass, like in an Onkyo. If you have any speaker set to large, it'll send the bass to the subwoofer. So you'll have the bass being produced from your front speakers, but it'll also send the same bass to the subwoofer as well. So you'll have essentially double bass, or just more bass. Virtual Cinema front, if you don't have any like overhead speakers or like Atmos speakers, this is probably beneficial. I have it set to off because again, I toggled it on and off and I didn't notice anything, but you can see if you like it. You know, you always experiment. Let's keep going. Distance, I think I showed this to you earlier so this is pretty standard stuff. You can set it to feet or meters. I have mine set to feet, of course, because I'm in the United States and that's the way I think. You can do your levels here, of course. And that's how I have mine set. Equalizer, again, I wouldn't mess with this unless you can actually do some canned, I guess, equalizer settings. I have it set to flat, which is it's not boosting at all. But I wouldn't mess with equalizer unless you have a microphone to measure and actually take, you know, if not, you're just, you know, shooting, you're just blindly like messing with it by ear, and using your ear is just not, it's more of a pro kind of feature. A speaker impedance, you can set it to 6 minimum or 8 minimum. I have it set to 6 minimum to be on the safe side. And test tone, this is where you would do the test tones for your levels. And I have the volume really low right now because I'm in a game right now, so that's why you can't hear it, but it is doing the test tones. So that's where you would do that. So let's go back to HDMI. And HDMI control is like CEC. I typically keep it off. It's good if you're using your TV apps and you want to get sound from your TV or something. If you have devices connected to your TV, you can take advantage of that and maybe use eARC and all that stuff. Audio output, I actually don't know what that is. Standby through, I think that's if the unit's on standby, and let's say you have like you want to still watch your cable box and use the TV speakers, you can actually, this is how you would do that. So but I have it set to off because I don't typically use that. 4K upscaling, I like to use the TV for upscaling, so I typically leave that off, but you can turn it on here or off. HTCP version, you can actually change that. Like you can do HD. I'd leave it at auto. You wouldn't want to fall back to 1.4 unless you're having issues like handshake issues or something like that. It's something worth trying. HDMI video format. This gives you some information. You can do mode 1. This sort of tells you what each format is capable of doing. So mode 1 is 4K 120 and 4K 160, and there you have an 8K mode as well. So 4K mode 1 is all I need. I don't have anything 8K, and it's working fine, as you can see. I'm in a Halo game right now. Let me go back. And then let's do some sound. Tone control. Again, I don't mess with this. This is sort of like the equalizer thing. I like keeping stuff flat personally, but you can mess with it if you really want to. DSP parameter. You can do some DSPs here. I think I have them set to off right now, or auto or something. I don't mess with the DSP stuff. It's that weird. So right now it's set to Dolby Surround because I'm using Dolby Atmos from the Xbox, which is yeah, what you would expect. Or you can set it to auto as well, which is also fine. Auto would select the most appropriate like up mixer. All channel stereo, I don't know, I haven't really messed with this too much. Again, I just got this receiver. And lip sync, you can adjust the lip sync. You can do it manual, or I typically leave that alone. You can, if you're having trouble listening, hearing dialogue, you can actually adjust that here and you know, boost it a little bit. But you know, I haven't had any issues with this particular receiver. Volume, you can set the dynamic range here. I mean, I think dynamic range is good. I'd leave it at maximum. I think that's by default, that's how it came. Max volume, you can set the max volume here. If you don't want to go over a certain volume or blow out some speakers, you can do that here. And initial volume, you can set your initial volume or just set it to off, which is default. All right, and it's virtual speaker, I have that set to on. Again, I think this is, I tried it on and off and it didn't really seem to do anything, but right now I left it on. Again, I may mess with it more in the future, but I didn't really, again, experiment and see if you like it. And again, this is particularly useful if you don't have a set of height speakers. I would definitely, you know, try it and see if you hear a little more like overhead effects and stuff like that. It's sort of like the psychoacoustic thing that they do with sound bars these days. All right, so DTS mode. if you're having trouble with DTS tracks, then try switching this to mode 2, or you can switch between mode 1 and mode 2. I haven't seen this before in any other receiver, honestly. So, and again, I tried a movie with DTS, and I had no problem. And seeing, you can set up some scenes for these different scenarios easily, and you can I think you can quickly jog through them in your. You can go through them quickly on your remote here. There's like a button. You can select the scene button there, and I don't know. I haven't really messed with it, and I'm typically more like a one-size-fits-all kind of guy with this thing. But who knows? Maybe I'll get into it one day. But not my thing. Multi-zone, I don't really mess with too much. Typically, if I feel like I want to have a like audio in another zone, I'll just get another cheap receiver, sort of like this one. And because I've had mixed, you have to run a long HDMI cable, and then maybe you're stuck with, unless you have like a top of the line receiver, you're stuck with stereo, with just two output for 2 speakers. Higher end processors and receivers, yeah, maybe you can get a 5.1 system on a zone 2, but then you're running long cables to another room. I think it's always easier just to have another cheap receiver that would do a better job anyway. So again, I'm going to just go back. I don't really mess with multi-zone and function. Here you can rename an input, which is kind of cool. If you want to, like right now I have it set to game, you can actually name it, Xbox, which is cool. An input skip if you don't want to, and for input skip if you don't want to have a particular input show up while you're jogging through it on the front display, or changing the input on your remote here, then you can actually do that. But I'm gonna just use them all. You can change all these. You can turn off, all these DSP modes that I honestly flipped through them. I didn't hear anything different. Maybe it's for music, or maybe you have to actually set it up. Again, I didn't notice any difference. And trigger output. This is one of the reasons why I bought this receiver. So it'll right now it's set to power. So if you set when the receiver turns on, it'll turn on the external amp automatically. And here you can set it through source or manual. Again, power. That's what I want. I just want to turn. I want the receiver to turn on and the amp to turn on at the same time. And then you can, again, if you selected something other than power, you can go into source and change the source, to another. Let's say you want it to turn on with HDMI. You want it to turn on with HDMI 1 or something. But again, I just want it to turn on with power. User interface, display settings. You can set the dimmer of the front display to, right now it's set to -3, which it seems fine. It's not very obtrusive. You can set the volume to like dB or absolute, which is the numbers. I like dB. I just reviewed an Onkyo that didn't have the relative volume and didn't have the dB volume. So, I mean, it's not a deal breaker or anything because it was a really good deal, so it's okay. But yeah, I like that this receiver has a touch sound. I left the touch sound on. I guess it plays a little sound when you hit a key, remote color key. I messed with this, I don't know what this is really for, so I'm not going to even go into that. It's for the little colored remote buttons on your remote. I don't really use those, so. Memory guard, I don't know what that is, so I'm not going to even try to explain it. Eco, auto power standby. You can, if you leave it like idle for 20 minutes, it'll shut off, or you can set it to 2 hours or even 4 hours, or 5 minutes, or you can turn it off if you want. So I have it set to 20 minutes right now, so I might actually turn that off. I'm gonna turn it off. And eco mode, you can turn it on and off. Eco mode will kind of limit the amount of power that you can get. Like I have a Denon that you can set it to auto, so it automatically adjusts the amount of power. Eco Pro off, please. Okay. So initialization, Yeah, I actually don't know what that is, so I'm not going to explain that. Backup. So you can back up your settings and restore them here. So I typically don't do that. I would just run it again. Here you can update the firmware. I actually just did that. It took about 10 minutes to do, and this is the newest version at 1.63. Okay, moving on to network. You know, here you can get information about the network. Right now it's connected via, I usually use Ethernet if I can. You can change the network name and network standby. I think DMC control is for IP control, if I'm not mistaken. Again, I'm pretty new to these Yamaha receivers. And then you can adjust Bluetooth settings in here as well. I haven't really even messed with that yet. And then you can change the language to different languages and have it set to English. So let's go to the options menu. It's a different menu. So YPAO volume. So I have it set to on. I mean, I honestly don't know what this does, but I toggled it on and off and I didn't notice any difference, so I just left it on. DSP surround. I think I turned these both off. Again, I didn't notice any difference, but again, I may revisit it and see. But again, experiment, see if you like it. Volume trim. This is if you want to actually kind of like boost the entire volume, I believe, of your system. You can boost the volume, you know, overall for the entire system, or you can just do it for your subwoofer as well. And lip sync could be useful, but I don't typically mess with that. You can add a delay or you know, audio signal information. This, as you can see, I'm getting Atmos from the Xbox, and it is sending a 5.1.2, which is what this receiver supports. And I can show you the video information here. And here we go. So you're getting 4K 60, and it's 422 at 24-bit, and it's HDR10, which is what my TV supports. Audio in, and it shows you we're getting audio from HDMI 3. So I have my new Yamaha RX-A2A connected to my Xbox. I like using the Xbox because it has, if you go to the TV and display options, it'll tell you exactly what your TV can do. As you can see, it supports up 4K UHD and can do 1440 at 120 FPS, which is cool. It does support HDR for gaming, and it supports all these other. It supports 4K 10-bit at 60 Hertz. And HDR10 video. It doesn't support Dolby Vision. This is a Samsung TV. Samsungs are notorious for not supporting Dolby Vision, so it's pretty standard. So let's check out the video modes while we're here. And as you can see, as I expected, my TV supports auto low latency mode, but doesn't support VRR or anything like that. So I'm going to attempt, as you can see, it did say that it supported 4K, it supported 1440p at 120 Hertz. So I'm going to try switching to 1440p now. And I'm going to hit keep, and then I'm going to switch the refresh rate to 120. So if you're really into gaming, you know, this receiver does support that, and it would probably support 4K 120. And obviously this supports 8K and 4K 120 as well. This is a limitation for my particular TV has. So 1440p 120. Personally, I like 4K 60 is fine for me. That's as much as I can show you with this particular television. So much time has passed since I started recording this video that I actually moved into the new theater, and I've been using this Yamaha receiver since May, basically, since May or June, and I have no complaints. In essence, it's done everything that I've asked it to do, but I have been using it in my Control 4 system in my family room, and so it's basically in this closet in my theater room, and it's sending the signal all the way up to the family room through long speaker wires, long HDMI cable, solution, and it's been working great. All the speakers are set up in the ceiling in that room, which is not ideal, but it's, you know, it's like peak Wi-Fi acceptance factor setup. That was always my intention with that room. I'll probably make another video talking about like setting up a home theater in your ceiling. Is it ideal? I wouldn't consider it ideal, but it's not as bad as you would think if you set it up, if you choose the right speakers, at least for the front stage. But anyway, the receiver's been doing great. Everything I throw at it, it plays fine. It's my particular setup with using my Atlona with my video distribution unit doesn't really support Dolby Vision, even though technically on paper it does support Dolby Vision. It really doesn't in practice. So I've been sort of limited to HDR10, which is okay from my perspective. I have this current receiver connected to a LG C2 77-inch OLED. By the way, it's the best TV I've ever owned in my life. Probably won't review that TV because there are a ton of reviews on it, and I feel like I don't think I'd be adding very much other than it's amazing. It's a really great TV, and and the integration with the external amp for the in-wall subwoofers has worked perfectly. It's turned on, the trigger out is just turned on the amplifier every time, and it's worked. It's done exactly what I've needed it to do. You know, you hear a lot of negative things about YPAO and how it's not very good. Yes, it's not direct. It's sort of like a basic, at least the version that I'm using, it's sort of like a basic, you know, help you set up the levels, help you set up the distances kind of thing. So it's super basic. It's not really doing much with like room correction in any way, shape, or form, but it does help the novice kind of set up the receiver for the first time, and it's actually pretty quick, and it's in this video. It's like took me about less than 3 minutes to finish from beginning to end. My one little complaint is and this is not a deal breaker. The menu system is a little laggy, it's a little slow, and I don't like the fact that it's on 1/3 of the screen. I wish the remote control also had like an info button where you can just hit it quickly to see what kind of HDR you're getting, what kind of like audio codec whether it's Atmos or Dolby True HD or whatever, just to quickly glance and see that you're getting what we're supposed to be getting. The Yamaha is the workhorse of the whole house. It is the home theater that I use the most, and again hasn't let me down. I can absolutely vouch and recommend this Yamaha receiver to somebody who's looking for all the features that it has, and you know, pretty darn stout amplification for the money. Well, anyway, if you found this review helpful, please, you know, it took me a long time to film, spanning months, and I'm kind of giving you the full. I decided I'm just going to upload the whole thing. I usually chop up these videos in 2 or 3 videos, but I thought let me just put the whole thing out there in one video. Anyway, this video was delayed quite dramatically due to the move, and that's just the way the cookie crumbled with this particular video. But anyway, if you have any questions about the receiver, feel free to leave them in the comments. It really, really helps the channel a lot if you can like the video and consider subscribing. Really trying to get to that 6,000 subscriber mark, and eventually maybe to 10 one day. That would be really great. And anyway, see you in the next one.